Starbucks is a business and a company that I certainly classify as a real man's investment, and I didn't think they could take it to the next level. Their old CEO, Laxman Narasimhan, to say the least, was a beta male. He was fumbling interviews with Jim Cramer and increasing prices at the same time. His lack of transparency and word for covering up insane price hikes was not communicating value. Now, as a shareholder and on this channel, I've been on record for saying I did like the CEO, Laxman Narasimhan, but once that really bad quarter kind of happened and it kind of all went down from there, a lot of people switched up on him, so I gave him a bit of a fair shot, but it's been way too far without good results here. And Starbucks just had the Tom Brady of CEOs pretty much come into their lap. Like, I thought he was an alright CEO, but I didn't know that he was like 22% of a bad CEO. I thought either way Starbucks would be fine regardless. Laxman had plenty of time under Howard Schultz, but it appears that the Starbucks board did not feel that way. This is Brian Niccol. Brian Niccol is an alpha male, and that's for certain. Unlike Laxman, when you hear Brian Niccol talk, you don't get uncomfortable. That's one of the best qualities you can have in a CEO. Brian was the current CEO of Chipotle, and Starbucks is the only kind of restaurant that I believe can go up to Chipotle, slap them in the face, and steal their CEO. I know certainly Dutch Bros can't do that. I know Dunkin' can't do that. And certainly MPW would never be able to do something of that matter. So today, I'm going to be sharing my reaction to the news, what work the new CEO has to do, and so much more. And guys, if you aren't familiar with my channel, I am the Starbucks cult leader. I will cover any news on this company possible. I have an entire playlist on this business, so if you're interested, please go check that out. Let's get on to the video, though.
Hello, I like money.
So if you guys didn't think Starbucks was a real man's investment, I don't know how you haven't changed your mind by now. They essentially, to sum it up very quickly, they went up to Chipotle, slapped them in the face, saying, "We're taking your CEO that has been historically one of the best CEOs in the restaurant industry, and you're going to do nothing about it." I think the big thing that Brian Niccol really is that Laxman wasn't is more honest and true. And I think Laxman was continuing to hike these prices because of how bad inflation was, and that's overall hurting the business. And I think Starbucks really didn't see enough of him, directly cutting the prices. I do believe they were still cutting the prices indirectly, the Starbucks Reward app, but they weren't directly cutting prices to consumers that weren't reward members or just more casual consumers. That's kind of what's hurting them right now. I think Brian Niccol is going to be a lot more honest of a CEO. I think you're going to see price cuts, which is the biggest thing that I'm probably going to be taking away for the next few months as a CEO tenure. I honestly really didn't think management was much of an issue for Starbucks. I thought Laxman was a good enough CEO to run the business. He had long-term growth plans in place and was just dealing with hard issues right now with inflation. It wasn't much of an issue enough for me to really question my position in the company, but obviously a lot of investors thought otherwise. I also believe that Laxman made some really solid progress in terms of the triple shot reinvention plan and some long-term growth strategies with the business that I think Niccol's going to really build off of. I also really do question how much of this is really a replacement or if it's a firing for Laxman. Like, was Laxman's bad performance, how much of an issue was that really for Starbucks? If they couldn't get Brian Niccol for some reason, would they still fire Laxman? That's a real question I have in my mind. Elliott Management also really wanted Laxman Narasimhan to go, and the stock even went up on that potential news, but it quickly declined, and the stock actually went down 4% because of it, which I thought was kind of funny. Bill Ackman is very, very, very fond of Brian Niccol as well, which is also something that gives me a huge confidence boost, and I wonder what Bill Ackman is thinking today. But he's been the CEO since 2018, and since then he has had a 773% gain on the stock. Absolutely insane. Now, keep in mind, obviously Chipotle is in a much different situation than Starbucks in terms of size of the company, so I wouldn't expect a 773% gain in the next 6 years of Starbucks. I mean, it's possible for sure. This is a CEO that has proven time in and time again that he can get a company out of the deep depths of hell, and I don't even think Starbucks is in that bad of a situation. Like, it's definitely not good. He's helped Chipotle rebound from foodborne illness scandals and led its restaurants through the pandemics, and other restaurants have had a sharp pullback in consumer spending. Chipotle's continue to grow their earnings, which hopefully will translate to Starbucks. Something that's really interesting is Mellody Hobson, who basically stepped down in Starbucks' chair today, announced that the board had been thinking about replacing Laxman for nearly several months. So this is way before the crazy dip that they had in April as well, which makes me think that behind the scenes Lax was not doing a very good job as CEO. I definitely think that it's a positive that the Starbucks board was very active in watching Laxman's performance as CEO. I think a company like Disney has not had the best board in terms of accountability, so it's definitely a positive thing to say that Starbucks' board has been very active and vocal in terms of that. Hobson also acknowledged that Laxman faced some challenges coming into Starbucks without any restaurant experience. but that he helped decrease turnover and address supply chain issues. But the board has more confidence that Niccol will be able to turn around the business quicker. I think the issue with Laxman is that they weren't going to see a recovery that fast, but I think with Niccol, you're getting the Tom Brady of restaurant CEOs coming into your business. They said that Brian is someone who's quite honestly been there, done that through all sorts of market environments and all sorts of cycles. So when I tried to talk to him, I remember saying, I know what to do. As I mentioned, Bill Ackman is very fond as Brian Niccol as CEO, and here's a clip of him on the Lex Friedman podcast talking about him, and it's very impressive.
I'll mention it to the CEO.
Don't make promises you can't keep, Bill.
I'm not making it.
All right.
Brian Niccol's a fantastic CEO. He's not going to spend $1 that he doesn't think is in the company's best interest.
All right. All I want is free Chipotle. Come on now.
Here's my Brian Niccol Alpha Male Success Plan, officially made by me. So what I think the first thing that he's going to do is more directly cut prices. As I kind of mentioned earlier, Laxman was sort of cutting prices. He wasn't directly saying it. He covered it up by saying not communicating value properly to customers. But I think the number one thing that I think Niccol, as I mentioned, I think he's an honest CEO, a lot more honest than Laxman. I think he is going to cut prices, and I think that's going to drive back same-store sales. I think that's one of the things that's hurting Starbucks right now that Laxman didn't directly address enough. I think Laxman was afraid of the potential impact on the financials if he were to cut prices. But I think you're going to get more of a quantity of sales through same-store sales, and I think that's going to lead to bigger results. I think he's also going to focus on bringing back the brand value of how Starbucks was pre-Laxman. I feel like he's going to try to address the Starbucks experience a lot more hands-on, try to bring back that premium value to it. I mean, bringing back the kind of unanimous agreement that Starbucks is a premium company. I think that brand value has kind of been lost over the last few years. I'm excited to see what he does to bring it back. And also something that I put down as a potential that I could see him doing right now is maybe a dividend pause. And what do I mean by dividend cut/pause? Maybe they stop paying the dividend for a year or two and they reallocate that capital elsewhere. I feel like that's something that he could do. Starbucks is paying out a lot of money in the dividend right now. I could see him potentially pausing it, or more likely, probably slowing down on the dividend growth. Maybe look at repurchasing shares. I don't know if they do it at this valuation, but absolutely, I could see him reallocating the capital elsewhere for a better return. As Bill Ackman mentioned, I think this is a CEO that's going to put $1 towards the best way that it can grow to the company. Alright, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, the Delta app by eToro. Now, you guys know I've been partnered with Delta for a little bit here now on the channel, but they have an exciting new update to their app. From behind the scenes testing and me personally using the app myself, I can say that this is definitely an upgrade from the previous version. The interface is definitely a lot cleaner, and it makes it even more convenient for me to see when my favorite stocks are up or down for the day. It's the best kind of adrenaline rush, and the adrenaline rush that you can get completely for free, and they also have the option to track crypto and NFTs if that's the kind of stuff that you're into. They also have a new Discord community as well where you can get access to new features before anybody else. Now, since Starbucks is the only company that I'm majorly tracking in this app, it even gave me a personal recommendation and a bit of a warning that my portfolio is heavily consolidated into consumer discretionary. This is so sick, and if you're a beginner investor, it can definitely maybe open your eyes to something you haven't been seeing before. Thank you once again so much to Delta. You can download it on iOS or Android, the link's in the description. Thank you, Delta, and on to the video. So I think with Starbucks right now, you're going to see an accelerated recovery with Brian Niccol as CEO. I think he's going to be more honest of a CEO. He's going to directly cover the issues that Laxman, Narm, and Sharon did not. That's the biggest takeaway I think I have. I'm very curious to see some of the interviews that he does. Obviously, Jim Cramer already tweeted about this. He's very happy about it, which obviously is not a very good thing. But let me know your thoughts on the new CEO hiring in the comments below. Thank you once again to Delta for sponsoring today's video. Thank you for watching. If you haven't made it this far, smash the like button, subscribe, and of course, do dividend stocks, hot drugs. Have a good one.